You know that crock pot you love? The one that basically does all the cooking for you? It's a brilliant piece of tech. You throw some food in, head out for the day, and come home to a perfect dinner. Peak modern, set it and forget it genius. Yeah, about the modern part.
That's where the story gets a small awkward.
Because it's a complete lie. That life-saving idea of yours isn't from the 20th century, it's from the 13th century. It comes straight from the medieval world. You know, that primitive and backwards era we all like to feel so superior to? Turns out our ancestors weren't just trying to survive. They were engineering, with no power grid, no user manuals, just brutal necessity and pure ingenuity. We found 7 of their so-called primitive habits that are so damned smart you can still use them today. And the first one starts with a question. How do you cook a meal by putting out the fire? The most important ingredient for cooking a medieval meal was knowing when to put out the fire. Seriously, imagine it. It's a damp, cold Tuesday in the 1400s. Your entire world revolves around the central hearth in your cottage. The single source of heat for cooking and not freezing to death. Every piece of firewood is precious, earned with hours of back-breaking work. So you get your big iron pot of stew to a roaring boil, the smell of herbs and tough, cheap meat filling the air. Then you do the unthinkable. You kill the flame. You haul that dangerously hot pot over to a simple wooden chest, shove it inside, and bury it completely in dry, scratchy hay. To us, it sounds like a weird fire hazard at best. To them, it was a game changer. This wasn't just a folk trick. Historians like Francis and Joseph Geiss, who wrote the book on this stuff, call this a quiet revolution in domestic technology. The hay acted as a perfect insulator, trapping that initial violent heat. The temperature inside the pot stayed right in that magic zone, well above a simmer, slow cooking the meal for hours. It was the original non-electric slow cooker. Think about that. You could be out working the fields, knowing dinner was safely cooking itself. It was freedom, and it was pure, desperate genius. But their engineering wasn't just about survival. It was about taste. And their solution to a world without lemons would make a modern 5-star chef jealous. Okay, so they had a non-electric slow cooker. Big deal. But could they make food that didn't just taste of boiled sadness? What did you do for flavor, for a little zing in Northern Europe where citrus wasn't exactly growing on trees? You'd walk out to your vineyard in July, look at all those tiny hard green grapes, and see an opportunity. To us, that's just unripe, useless fruit. To them, that was a harvest. They'd pick those sour little bullets and press them into a juice called verjuice. The taste would make your entire face implode, a sharp, aggressive, acidic blast that could cut through the richest, fattest slab of roasted pork. It was the secret weapon, the original farm-to-table ingredient. Forget reducing your carbon footprint. They used the actual footprint from where they walked to pick the stuff. Try selling that at Whole Foods for $20 a bottle. It's a masterclass in seeing potential where the rest of us would just see garbage. And that's the question for you. What's the most clever, resourceful thing you do that other people might just overlook? Spill your genius secrets in the comments. We're all here to learn. From something you'd want to put in your mouth to something you'd put on your skin. And if you thought their food was weird, wait until you hear how they took a bath. This is where it gets truly gross. The secret to getting clean in the Middle Ages was to first get covered in absolute filth. I'm not kidding. Forget your fancy lavender-infused body wash. The original organic soap was born from 2 things you'd throw in the trash today. The greasy leftover fat from the animal you just butchered, and the black, gritty ash swept out of your fireplace. Just picture it. You're taking a cold, slimy handful of congealed fat and mixing it with a caustic slurry you made by dripping water through ashes. The smell is unpleasant. The texture is worse. It creates this lumpy, grayish goop that you're supposed to rub on your body. Would you do it?
Could you really wash your face with something that looks like a dirty rock you found in a puddle? But here is the jaw-dropping twist. That disgusting sludge is a chemical powerhouse. The lye from the ash attacks the fat molecules, triggering a reaction called saponification. It literally transforms that grease and trash into a brand new substance, real, effective, grime-cutting soap. It was a chemistry experiment conducted by people who had never heard of chemistry. They just knew it worked. Okay, so they were masters of turning garbage into gold, but their genius wasn't limited to things that were just gross. They could also turn pure physical pain into a tool for survival. Everyone knows what a stinging nettle is. It's that evil weed from your childhood that taught you the hard way not to go exploring in shorts. That sudden, sharp, burning sting, followed by those itchy red welts. Your first instinct is to stay as far away from that plant as possible. Their first instinct was to walk right into a patch of it. Why? Because they saw a secret. They knew that underneath those thousands of tiny, pain-inducing needles, the stalk of the nettle was packed with fibers as strong and versatile as flax, the plant used to make linen. This is like deciding to make a sweater out of poison ivy because you noticed it had tough vines. It's a level of grit that's hard to even comprehend. You had to endure the stings to harvest the plant, then go through a long process of rotting and scraping to extract those precious fibers. But the payoff was immense. You could twist it into a fishing line to catch dinner, a bowstring to hunt, or thread to stitch your clothes back together. They looked at a painful weed and saw a lifeline. If you believe this kind of forgotten resilience deserves to be brought into the light, show your support for this expedition and hit that like button. And if you want to be part of the crew that digs up these secrets, join our guild of knowledge keepers by subscribing. Making tools from the outside world is one thing, but what happened when the damage was internal, or more accurately, right on your skin? Their solution for a gruesome wound is even more unbelievable.
If you got a nasty gash from an axe or a rusty nail in the Middle Ages, your best hope for survival wasn't a doctor. It was a beehive. I know, it sounds completely insane. Imagine you slice your hand open in the kitchen. Your first instinct isn't to grab the neosporin. It's to reach for that cute bear-shaped bottle of honey in your pantry and just squeeze the sticky golden goo right into the open wound. It feels wrong on every level. It's sugar. It's sticky. It seems like you'd be ringing the dinner bell for every piece of bacteria for miles around. Would you have the guts to trust it? To look at this stuff you put in your tea and believe it's going to save your arm instead of giving you a raging infection? But here's where ancient wisdom gets the last laugh over modern skepticism. They didn't know the science. They just saw the results. We know exactly why it works. Honey is a stone-cold killer of germs. It's naturally acidic, it sucks the moisture out of bacteria, and it even produces its own hydrogen peroxide. It is so brutally effective that today you can buy FDA-approved medical-grade honey to treat severe burns and wounds in hospitals. This wasn't a lucky guess. It was advanced medicine figured out 1,000 years early. So they had mastered their own bodies, turning pain into tools and food into medicine. But what about mastering the land itself? What about building something that would outlast them, their children, and their children's children? How do you build something that lasts 1,000 years? Forget concrete, forget steel beams, forget mortar. All you need are two things: rocks and gravity. We build houses today with nail guns and drywall that can be threatened by a strong gust of wind. These guys built property lines across entire countries with nothing but stones, and they're still standing. Just look at the fields of Ireland or England. You see these endless beautiful walls snaking over the green hills. Your vinyl fence's warranty expires in 10 years. Their walls have lasted 10 centuries. Have you ever tried to build anything, even a sandcastle, and have it last? Now imagine your job was to build a wall that your great-great-great-great-great-grandchildren could lean against. This isn't just a simple pile of rocks. It's a massive three-dimensional puzzle. Every single stone is chosen and placed by hand, angled just right to lock in with its neighbors. The immense crushing weight, distributed perfectly, is the glue. The small gaps let rainwater drain and allow the whole structure to shift and breathe with the freezing ground without ever falling apart. It's a living, flexible wall. Building a structure that can outlast an empire is one kind of genius.
But the final habit we're going to show you is even more permanent, because it wasn't built with stone. It was built with pure thought. And you won't believe what they could construct inside their own minds. What's the most powerful tool a human can possess? It's not a sword, or a plow, or even a stone wall. It's that 3-pound chunk of gray matter between your ears. And people in the medieval era had turned theirs into supercomputers. Today, if you need to remember something, a phone number, a grocery list, a key fact for your job, what do? You pull out your phone. Your brain has been outsourced to a tiny glass rectangle. Most of us struggle to remember what we had for breakfast yesterday. A medieval scholar, without paper or pen, could recite thousands of lines of scripture, entire family lineages, or complex legal codes, flawlessly. How? They didn't have an app for that. They had a palace. They called it the method of loci, or the memory palace. You'd take a place you knew intimately, like your childhood home, and you would take a walk through it in your mind. Then, you'd place the things you needed to remember in specific locations. The king's date of birth is on the fireplace mantel. The name of his heir is sitting at the kitchen table. To recall the information, you just took that same mental walk. It was a filing system for the soul. Could you do it? Build a fortress of facts in your mind? This wasn't a party trick. This was their hard drive, their cloud storage, their internet. And it's the ultimate proof that these people weren't primitive. They were just different. And that difference is the entire point. So, we started this journey in a kitchen with a box of hay that reinvented the slow cooker. We moved to their skin with soap made from garbage and medicine made from honey. We watched them tame painful plants, build walls to outlast time, and finally construct unbreakable palaces inside their own skulls. 7 habits, 7 pieces of evidence in a case against a single, lazy word, primitive. We love that word. It makes us feel safe. It makes us feel advanced. It makes us feel superior. But it's a comforting lie. The truth is, our ancestors weren't playing life on an easier difficulty setting. They were playing an entirely different game, one with higher stakes and harsher rules. Their cheat codes weren't downloaded. They were engineered from dirt, necessity, and relentless observation. Their search engine wasn't a keyboard. It was a highly structured, weaponized memory. What they mastered, what we've perhaps forgotten, wasn't just one skill. It was the mindset behind all of them. The fundamental human genius of looking at a problem, using only what's in front of you, and just figuring it out. That is resilience. So the next time you hear someone dismiss the past as dark and backward, just remember, they weren't less intelligent than us. They were survivors in a world that would break most of us. And they did it with a kind of genius we can now only begin to appreciate. This knowledge is fading fast. Don't get left behind in the dark. Subscribe now and claim your place in the circle before it's too late. Be honest, which of these skills would actually save you, and which one would get you killed? Drop your survival verdict in the comments. Hit the like button as a signal that you're still with us, that the wisdom has been received. This isn't just a video, it's a rescue mission for lost ideas. Share it and pull this knowledge back from the edge of oblivion. Everything we showed you was about staying alive, but you need to see the weapons they designed for the exact opposite. And you are not prepared for what's coming next.